So many of us worry about the state of science in terms of where it's going and what's happening. There has been a lot of unnerving trends in the last little bit, this sort of proliferation of performance over actually doing correct or valid or reliable science in the scientific community. There has also been a push in the general public, and I think it's rightfully so, that there is a distrust in much of the scientific effort. And I think, people are recognizing that there are challenges that we actually face as scientists, as researchers. But I'm here in Florence, Italy, and in what you see in the back right there, this beautiful building is the Galileo Museum. And yesterday I had the privilege to go and tour around and look at it. And there's a symbol that I think is important that we should all recognize, is that there is a telescope in there. The original telescope from Galileo, as well as one of his fingers, which is weird. But there is the original telescope from Galileo, and I felt so compelled. For me, it was like Mecca. For me, it was the recognition of the fact that scientific effort actually does get recognized eventually. So Galileo's story, I'm sure everybody is well aware of that. He and Copernicus looked around and said, hey, perhaps the world does not revolve around us. It is not revolving around the Earth. Everything, the galaxy, everything revolves around something else, right? And by looking at that and coming up with this model of that the planets revolve around the sun, it started off a scientific revolution by asking simple questions, by looking at reliable knowledge, and that created something that was unnerving for many of us. It made everybody uncomfortable around the world. First, it was like, even the sort of scientific community at that time was like, I don't know. But then people started recognizing it for what it was, that this was truth and that this was more valid than what we had before. And I'm reminded when I feel unnerved with the trends that are going on, I think about what should I do as a human being, as a researcher, as a scientist. And I think what I should do is just to pursue truth and valid truth that's reliable. And that's all I can do. It's just repeat. Doing good things repeatedly. And even if some people don't like that, even if my results are not conclusive and it's not performance oriented, right? The effect size is not there and all of that kind of stuff. I'm reminded that that is good science. That is being a good researcher. That is doing your job. And I think a couple of things that we can learn from this is we need to stop looking for interesting insights. We need to stop looking for these effects that likely don't exist many of the times. We need to look for just valid understanding. And it might be boring, it might be trite, but I think those things are very, very important to understand what is going on in the world. And I think if you think about Galileo's story, they were finding and discovering sort of invalid results consistently. I'm like, what is going on here? This doesn't make sense. This is not what the norm is. And I think that's what we should be looking for, is how do we develop an understanding about the world that is reliable and valid. And the way that you do that is to recognize you're not going to find things that are interesting or, novel all the time. You're going to find things that simply are just, they don't seem to be there. We thought they were going to be there, but they're not there. And I think we need to remove the scientific effort has gotten off track, where we have looked for interesting insights, but in fact, we should probably be just looking for scientific understanding of the world. and just looking at, this is how the world works. It doesn't have to be interesting. Sometimes, in the moment, things don't seem interesting. And sometimes in the moment, we look at this and we think that our results are invalid because they don't hold up to what we thought was going to happen. But sometimes those are actually the correct results. And it's only after many years that they actually come to light that those were the correct results. I guarantee Galileo doubted himself. I guarantee Galileo was sitting there, I don't know what the heck I'm doing here. This seems stupid. Everybody hates me. Nobody likes me. I guess I'm gonna go eat worms. And when I think about that, the bravery it takes to be a researcher, a scientist, to speak up and say, this is my results, this is what I found, and this is what I'm gonna stick with. That is an incredible story that we need to remember. We're all, everyone, every researcher, every scientist is a little bit Galileo of giving the middle finger to the outside world and saying, you know what? I don't have to pay attention to what is going on. I don't have to listen to the things that people doubt me. I'm just gonna go forward and I'm gonna present these results and I'm gonna do as best as I can and I'm gonna try to be as valid as I possibly can. And the more that you get to that attitude of, I'm just gonna give a middle finger to the rest of the world and it doesn't matter, even the performance aspects of what we actually do, right? The fact that we actually have to publish things, that's garbage. That is absolute garbage. We need to do good research. And that's the only thing that matters. And if there's pressures from the outside world, we just gotta keep walking forward and doing our thing and presenting good evidence. And that's it. And the more that we focus on that, rather than focusing on what is interesting and clever or what is with the norm, how everybody views the world, we're not gonna make that much scientific progress. We need to focus on the things that allow us to take the steps forward. And sometimes those things are boring. As I talk about many times on this channel, it's just one step forward, one little tiny step every single day. And that goes for the whole collective effort, scientific effort. This idea where you just take one little tiny step every day. And as long as that one little tiny step is in the right direction, that's all that matters. And even if it takes you backwards many, many years, that's okay as well. So what matters is the fact that you're putting in the effort every day, just like Galileo did. And I look at all of the things that they did, this wonderful, elaborate things, all these amazing tools. They took years and years and years to develop. We need to remember that. Any good science that matters in this world always takes years to develop. It always is a lot of work. We need to keep coming back to that idea, what Galileo was doing. This is what I believe is true, and I'm gonna pursue this thing and try to discover this thing no matter what happens to me and what is going on. I think if we stay to the truth of what Galileo wanted, I think we can change the world. That was only 400 years ago. Look at how much progress we've made since then. And I think what's gonna happen in the next 400 years is determined a lot on how much we can say, I'm just gonna do good, valid science and not worry about the performance aspects and not worry about what the outside world thinks of the science that I'm actually doing. That's it. That's what it means. Go be the Galileo today.